Hey, Amanda, welcome to the show. As way getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. A little background on myself. Geez, well, there's a lot to cover. I would
Mhm.
say at a high level, um, I am a salesperson at heart. I found my love for sales early in my life, selling clothing at what you might remember a clothing store called 579 for teen girls. And today I help develop really great leaders,
Yeah.
managers, and coaches. Yeah.
And why'd you make the switch from line sales or quota carrying, as they call it, to enablement or development?
Yeah. So why did I make the switch from making the big bucks to making the enablement bucks? Yeah,
Yeah, too
I'm
much
still trying to
money.
figure that out. Yeah, I was just flush with cash and thought, well, I'll
How
take it
many
easy.
boats and houses can one girl have?
That's right. I mean, at some point you got to have some modesty. So, you know, it's funny that you ask, or maybe not. It's appropriate that you ask. I made the switch 3 years ago, actually this month, 3 years ago, and it was a bit serendipitous. Where I was working, there was an opportunity for someone to come in and pay attention to sales managers. The company realized that sales managers are different, and we can't just treat them like salespeople, even though they have that sales elk. And so it was the first opportunity to really look at how we onboard our sales managers. And it's something I'm incredibly passionate about. And so I said, yeah, I want to do that. I think I can not only make less money, but I also think I can have, no, I just, it was like about the impact that you can make and about the challenge it would bring me. As a salesperson at heart, I'm incredibly competitive. So I was looking around and thinking, I can totally make the world for our sales managers better by helping them get into this organization in a smoother way.
Yeah.
So,
And what did you see needing improvement?
so there were a couple of things. One, am I allowed to say the company I work for?
If you want, up to you.
Okay. I don't know want to make sure I follow the proper rules here. So the thing that I saw was that at ServiceNow, where I work today and have been for 5.5 years, is that we had this amazing culture and we had these really great leaders and these really great sales leaders, but we transitioned people into management without a real understanding that the job is different. And so you have a lot of first line leaders that are first time leaders that are used to being a superstar, right? Used to the big bucks, used to the attention, used to closing the deal, used to driving the next steps. And now they're dealing with someone who doesn't do things the way they do.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating. Like, it's
Yeah.
incredibly frustrating that first year as a sales manager. So that resonated with me. I saw that we had these awesome people, really talented people, and that we could actually have them have greater success and their teams by virtue have greater success. So the company realized that prior to me getting the role. I found out about it through knowing someone that was in support of the role. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. Like, I was
Yeah.
looking for my next challenge, and that seemed like it.
And how was that transition for you? Because you hadn't done that
Ooh.
before.
Um, yeah. So it's a wild ride. So the first thing is that anyone that's in sales, and I know because I've watched the things that you put out, and I love them when you're walking around your neighborhood, you're like, oh, what's that? I need more training. Okay, sure. I'm sure that'll fix it. Right? Like, that it's not always training, right? And
Right.
for Pete's sake, stop training people in the last week of the quarter, right?
Right.
So the transition for me was kind of like almost like the superstar rep to manager, that I was coming in with these ideas and I had to learn about enablement 101 and adult learning principles, because having been a sales leader for years, I built teams, I developed individuals. So I knew what the role needed, but the showing up and doing like a proper discovery, like you would in a sales process, it was just learning that new transition. And it's been 3 years, and it was like crazy exciting, and it has continued to be some of the most meaningful work I've ever done. But I will say this about the transition. The one funny thing is I'm a couple months in, right? I'm past the quarter, and I said to my husband, I was like, what do normal people do when they like want to make more money? And he said, they get a second job. And I was like, no, what?
Yeah, no,
Like
a smarter
that
way.
budgeting. Yeah. You don't have that same, like, oh, I'm going to kill this big mammoth of a deal. I'm going to solve this amazing challenge for this customer, but it's going to reward me this way. everything is set for you. And then it really is about the love of what you're doing and then growing yourself professionally. Like
Yeah.
the stuff I've learned in the last couple of years is like what you learn when you're new in the game, because I'm
And
new in the
what
game.
was the company's pattern to promote the top performer who wanted to be a leader, but didn't know what
Yeah.
that meant?
Yeah. So, we have fantastic leadership, like straight from the top, no brown nosing, just straight up. Our leaders, part of the reason I came to ServiceNow, they're great. What is not different about ServiceNow from the industry standards is that like 60% of frontline leaders get promoted from within, right? We want to grow our talent. And we have a really strong appetite to do that. It's one of our principles is we want to grow self, grow team, and we want to promote from within. But the reality is that top salespeople are like, yeah, I want to do that. And they have no idea what they're, yeah, I want to do that. And you
What
promote
that
people based off
means?
potential, right?
Yeah.
You've been there, right? Like, oh yeah.
Well, I always looked at it, do I want to do that, or do I hate working for this person who was my peer?
Yeah, that's right. Great motivator.
I literally fell out of my chair when I found out that my peer got promoted, and I didn't even know there was an opening. I go, I got to work for this guy. You know?
Yeah, and he was like, I got to manage this guy. No.
He probably was. He
Yeah.
left me alone for the next 3 years, which was fine. But I was like, oh, you know, you probably had that experience. Him?
Yeah, that's real, right? And then it
Because
gets magnified if they leave you alone or don't leave you alone, both have this crazy ripple effect to like you, the person, the human, and them, the person, the human, and then the company, the money, the revenue, the customer.
yeah, because usually the person gets promoted is either the top performer, or somebody who really wants it
Hmm. That's
and
right.
does what the company wants, has the image and the mojo to do what the company wants. And I
That's
was
right.
never that person. I was the performer who, you know, liked the title, but didn't want to do all the BS.
Yeah, but that's awesome. Like we need people like you. That's how I thought I was too when I was in my selling role. I was like, I'm going to retire from, I'm at this point like 22 years old, right? I'm going to retire from this company. I love it. I'm making so much money, 22-year-old money style, right? Which was great. I was young in my career, but I was still in a professional elk. And I got walked into sales management, which happens a lot. It was like, we're going to have a team contest and you'll be the team captain and you'll be another team captain. And then I learned how much I really loved helping other people.
Yeah.
But I have a true affinity for people who love sales, know the shtick, know the role, know the incredible value, and that's what they want to do. And they're like, I don't want to deal with the nonsense of managing people.
Right, because you get the headaches of each personality and where they are in life and their personal situation and how it affects and how open they are. And then you get the administrative side where it's
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
oh, I got 5 meetings a day just to tell you what I told you yesterday.
That's right. But that's what we're trying to train managers to understand before they get enrolled. So we have a
Yeah,
program we've put in place to say, hey, this is a safe space. We're gonna show you the brutal truth, if you will, of what being a manager is. And then we want to give you some space to try it out and understand what it really takes to be successful, because what makes you a successful salesperson, they're not the same skills that make you a successful sales leader.
yeah.
And said straight, it's not mind blowing, but when people actually practice understanding the difference, they realize that there are a lot of transferable skills, like a
There are,
sales
yeah.
process to get a customer. You have now a sales process to ask discovery questions to that person, because you're not trying to tell them the same thing 15 days in a row, but you need them to tell you what's going on because you already know what your opinion is, what you think is happening. So that process of working with individuals in a different way when you're still really close to closing the deal and you have all the pressure is just a unique challenge. It's fun
And
though. I
and
think it's one of the most rewarding things you can do.
and how do you get engaged with the new managers? Is it one-on-one? Is it a group? Is it optional? Is it mandatory? Is it?
I like to pose as a prospect. And so for me, for our teams, we've got a lot of avenues. We started out by getting them in onboarding.
Yep.
So they're coming in fresh, they're eager, they're excited. And then we started to extend because the leaders, for me, it was a little different because I came out of our sales org. So I knew the leaders,
Yep.
they knew what we were delivering. And then they saw people coming from the program and they started saying, hey, we've got these 5 people over here that were promoted, and could they come? Could they come to this program? And we were like, absolutely. So any program that doesn't connect newly hired and newly promoted as connection points, it's a miss.
Yeah.
So we started bringing them in, and so now we connect one-to-one. We have group settings, we have formal processes. They reach out to us.
They do. And what's the most common thing they ask, or what they really need? Not what they ask, but because they probably ask like,
Yeah, good distinguisher.
Yeah, what do you think I should do here?
Yeah. So it's been an evolution. In the beginning, the most common thing they asked was like, where can I find this? And what's the resource for that? Right. It was like, I was like in the mall at the
You're
kiosk,
the ops
like,
person for them.
You'll find Neiman Marcus on the 3rd floor. You have to go
row
past
7.
the gallery. Right. Yeah. So first, that's right. Row 7. Say hi to Bunny on your way, and make sure you stop and get a latte at this little joint. It's amazing. So at first it was that, and then the evolution became like second line leaders asking like, hey, I've got this challenge, or I've got this issue, or I have this person I think is great. Could you talk to them a little bit about what it might like to be that? And now today where it is, it's still like where can I find but the real evolution is people are coming to us and they're looking to transition within roles, or they're dealing with a challenging situation with someone that they want to upskill, either because they need it or because they see this amazing potential. And so they're coming to us for coaching to say, so like, this is the situation. How would I approach this best? And do you have some insight, or where can I go learn more? Right? Because if I don't have all the answers, I can support you, but then where can I continue to develop myself? So I think that's a really cool place to get to if you think about developing managers when they're taking ownership and coming to you for like, is there a program that can help me with this? And I have this challenge, or I'm trying to get this promotion. And would you please look at the presentation I put together and tell me what you think it's missing?
And how often do they just not have the right mindset? They still have the hunter killer mindset versus the coach, builder mindset.
So the mindset is I'm sorry, I think you said, what's the mindset that they have, and has it shifted from being a coach?
For them to do the shift from rep to leader, where they get like you described, you got lit up helping people, building people, developing people, walking them through the career, getting them, focused in the right direction. And that is, I've seen probably the number one thing between great leaders and mediocre leaders.
That's right. Yeah. The difference that I see is that these first line leaders, in the absence of the knowledge of what really coaching is and what they're actually supposed to do, they give feedback, like feedback, direction. Or in your case, they're like, that guy's good, that gal's good. And then that A player is like starving on the vine and not being challenged, equally not great. So what we work to do with our new leaders is to help them understand kind of 3 lenses that they need to look at. They're used to looking specifically to the customer, to how they manage the deal, but now that mindset has to shift to that individual. So the first thing that they really have to understand is, how is it different? And like, how do I have to look at things different and really get right with the fact that the lonely top is lonely when you don't surround yourself with peers that can be your guides. Like, build a personal board of directors, get those people that you can look at and you can go to that aren't your manager, because you don't always want to ask your manager, like, I'm not really sure how to. Find that person who takes a vested interest in you and that you look up to, and use them as that sounding board. So that's that first piece, is that mindset of how is this different? And then being really aware of where you need to grow, being really committed to knowing the difference between what telling is, which is feedback, and what asking is, which is coaching, and when to use each. So that, that's kind of the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah, but you always hear about that sales leader, and I've seen them. I've worked with them where they go, "Oh, just call the CIO." That's their coaching.
I never thought of that before.
Oh, you want me to call them?
Oh my God, that's like the QBR where someone's like, "Well, did you talk to the CIO?" And you're like, "Nope, never thought of that one." Did you find out what their needs were? Nope. We just tried to throw them some.
Sent the quote.
Right. Right.
Because, being a great rep doesn't mean you can articulate why you're great.
That's right.
It might be that subconscious competence, especially,
That's right.
Yeah, you get, 5 years into it, you've had success, and you probably rated 30. They're like, hey, I should be a manager now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Everything is so good. I should flip my world upside down right now.
Yeah. And I've seen it. And a good friend of mine, he turned 30, wanted to be a manager, had no interest in doing the job, but just like the title. Yeah. Well, you to think that I'm progressing. This is the next step versus this is what I want to do.
Yeah. That's the money. What you just said is, like, we live in a world, wherever you are, we're global, right? Where when you have these eager, competitive, really great people that want to continue to grow, the thing that seems logical is up, but there might be another opportunity. So when we look at what we do with these rising leaders is create a space to say, let's talk about what this really is and why you really want it. And if you want the title and the glory, remember that the glory in a leadership role is on your team. Right. Everything rises. You got to take all the blame, and you got to eat all the garbage, right? And you got to put the spotlight back on those A players, and you got to look at your other players and figure out, what is it that makes them unique and great? And what are the behaviors that drive results? And how do we figure out the middle ground to help them do some self-exploration, take some self control, and then give them a safe space to practice and have that psychological safety, which is really important. And in leadership, it's like in a sales process when you deal with a CIO and you're like traditionally an analytical person. And so I'm going to start my meeting with an agenda that says 1, 2, 3, right? And then you go into a management role, the rules are the same. Oh, this person is an amiable person. I better ask them about their kid's soccer game before I get into, why did you do that in that presentation? By the way, don't say why, right? Like, cause I'd be like, okay. So the rules just are similar, which you can use to your benefit if you figure out your new customer, and then you teach yourself how to be best at your new product, which is being a leader, being a coach, not being a great superstar salesperson, flipping deals for your reps.
And how about like the other end of the spectrum where they're the great administrator, process person, Boy Scout, what I call it, like, play
Eagle
the game.
Scout, is it 3 or 2 for that?
They're always prepared or whatever. And they get into leadership and they rock the CRM. They've got the dashboard, the metrics, they got it all figured out, but they're not talking to the team.
Oh yeah. Well, you're gonna die alone. Lone wolves die alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about when you find somebody who just isn't open to coaching?
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah. So nobody's ever not open to my coaching. So
oh, they succumb sooner or later.
Yes. They're like, oh, Amanda, yes, what do you have to coach me on? Uh,
Sensei.
wouldn't that be neat? No, I think the unique thing about coaching is there is a process that you can follow that has like a specific sequence, like a sales process, to
Yeah.
really do it effectively, right? You have to withhold telling, which is real hard when you think you know the answer. But for the people that reject it, I mean, you can't shove the horse's head in the water, but if you're a really great coach, you can still coach them because you know the process starts with understanding what they're trying to achieve. And so by simply asking them intentional, well thought out, powerful questions, you end up providing a coaching opportunity. That's not like, come sit in my office for 2 hours and I want to talk about when you were a
Your
child and
feelings.
where it is. Right. It's not that. It's being that. It's like when a prospect is like, sorry, I'm too busy. And you're
Yeah.
like, just a quick question, right? That Columbo, like, by the way.
Yeah.
And so there's that. And then there's other times where you have to just directly say, like, we have a situation. It becomes more of feedback. And we have a couple ways we're going to be able to go with this. We're going to work on it together or we're not. One has a positive result. One, I don't know. What would you like to do?
So you'd start like with their desired outcome.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. What's the saying? It's one of my favorites. People don't care what you know until they know how much you care. Teddy Roosevelt, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're moving from being a peer to being a manager, it's so important. You have to re-meet. Like, you're not the drinking buddy, not that all salespeople are drinking buddies, but you're not the hang out at the bar buddy, talk about the manager person anymore. You have to re-meet these people, like a completely new relationship, and they have to re-meet you. And it takes some time, the phases of building a team. Yeah.
And how long do you think it takes to go from that great rep to that good to great manager?
Yes, results may vary. So I think it really depends. And I don't know that anyone could give 100% answer. What I would say instead, if you'd accept this response, is that to go from being a good rep to being a good manager, to taking that first transition, there's a process that you can set forth for yourself. There are tools, there are resources. But to get to sustainable good management, getting past the honeymoon, and to get to sustainable good management and then great management and leadership, you have to dedicate that. It is an ongoing journey. It's not a destination. That for as long as you are a leader of people, people will continue to evolve. And thus you need to continue to evolve and hone your skills. Every relationship's a new relationship, right? And as those cycles go, you have to learn more. Does that align with, what do you think? What do you think about it?
Oh, there you go. You flipped it on me. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the moment to ask you, what do you think?
Well, because I talk more on the sales side, but I talk to enablement people. I talk to CEOs all the time, and usually I hear we know what we're doing, and then I have to take a step back and I go, do you have any competitors? And oh yeah, we got competitors. I got Owler up there, and I go, do you compete against? Yeah, they made 30 million last year. You want some of that?
I do. I would take
Right? So you got to kind of find that crack where they're comfortable. They have confirmation bias.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. Or they're like, well, what book recommendations would you have? And it's like, yeah, a book is good, but you can't learn how to swim by reading a book.
That's right.
Right. You
That's right.
learn you see the motions, the attitude, how other people do it. You got to get in the water. You got to have somebody outside the water telling you, your head needs to be in the water, every other foot, not both of them together, right? There's like those types of things. And I call it a performance.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. Because we all know how to do push-ups and sit-ups, but how many of us have six-pack abs? It's not a knowledge thing.
Right. Practical application.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And to get people to open up to that
Mhm.
usually takes, a bottom or a wall, a bad
Mhm.
quarter, a bad review, someone quits,
Mhm.
something that and that's the wrong thing to cause it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I concur with everything you've said. And so when we started looking at moving from just onboarding to these other aspects, it was really apparent that the promoted manager needed more, maybe more, because they knew the processes, but they didn't know the leadership and managing a sales process from a step removed. But what really quickly happened as we started to think through the build, as I started to think through it, was I would give you this example. If you were to say have a surgery of some sort, and then you thought, I want to be a surgeon, they wouldn't look at you and say, oh, Brian, you did so good. You laid so still. Here's a scalpel and a mask. You're going to be great, right? It sounds so ridiculous. Yet in sales, it's the same thing. You did fantastic, man. You have been at the top of the leaderboard quarter after quarter after quarter. You're killing it. You're mentoring and coaching your peers. You're showing all these great signs. You're keeping your records properly updated as much as the top salesperson will, and your customers love you. So go be a great manager. It's different. So what we decided as a company was to create a space. It's a 16-week program.
Okay.
To create a space to, one, be aware of the mindset, two, get clued into how functionally it's different, and then three, most importantly, start to practice those behaviors. Just like you role play, that opening thing you're going to say in front of the president or the CIO of the biggest company, you better role play what you're going to say in front of your brand new reports,
Yeah.
right? Or you're going to lose credibility like that.
And for that top rep that does want to be a manager, is doing the right things, what would be your top 3 things to tell them?
Yeah, go for it. Do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take joy in solving complex challenges and actually really bringing real value, true management gives you that opportunity. Like, you get to help. Think about the best manager you ever had.
Yeah.
What's one word that you'd use to describe him, really?
He was a great communicator, and we used to we used to work late at night. He'd stay in the office till 9 o'clock. I'd be there at 9 o'clock. He goes, "You want to grab dinner? Let's go out to dinner." We go out, have dinner. We talk these things through, and he would tell me, what would happen if you did this thing or you did that thing. So I was just a green little kid with all this energy, it's like, right, run into the wall. And he goes, yeah, you don't want to do that. This is what will happen if you do that.
He took a vested interest in you,
Yes.
and he
Yes.
invested time. And when I asked you, you lit up. And it was when you were a kid,
Right.
I'm assuming was like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. 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 When I was 22
Yeah.
and
5 years ago-ish, maybe 10.
yeah.
Yeah. But so the 3 things, just to answer your question, 3 things are: one, that feeling right there. The reality is, one, go for it. But two, realize that managers impact people, not work. And so three, be realistic and get support. Work for it, right? Talk to the people, understand it, develop those skills, and put your plans in place so that you can really be effective and get feedback. Get feedback.
Yeah. And take it.
Take it. Yeah.
Yes.
And ask for clarification when, like you said, both feet in the water, but not at the same time. Maybe I think they're not at the same time, but they are, and I need clarification on how I will be able to identify that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's new to them. Hey,
Yeah.
it's been a great conversation. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
Well, they can come to Florida. Everything you read about us is true. We're open. No, go to, they can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm amanda.gold. They can email me at amanda.gold@servicenow.com. And that's probably the best way. Do you have any other suggestions? So I give my
Well,
personal,
you have a group, don't you? You want to pitch that?
which group? I have
The
lots of.
Women's Sales Academy.
Oh
Is that
yeah,
you passionate
Women's
about
Sales
that?
Academy. It's passively and yeah. So I have Women's Sales Academy. I work with female and male
Uh-oh.
individual salespeople. I know, don't tell. We just say that like, whoa, man, and yeah. But it's Women's Sales Academy. To reach that, you'll need to go through LinkedIn, and you'll just need to come find me directly. And it's a more of a one-on-one mentoring, coaching, guidance. Phone a friend, need a quick answer, and I love that. I'm always up to chat with people about anything related to it.